Thank you for joining us on our journey here to preserve the history of mixed martial arts. When I wanted to take on this project, I needed help. I brought in one of my favorite matchmakers, Miguel Iturrate, and the MMA detective, Mike Davis. So to do this, we've been able to preserve history. Welcome and enjoy.
Hey, Miguel Iturrate here for the Lights Out podcast. I'm joined, as always, by the MMA detective, Mike Davis, and we have a special guest and a special feature. We are in Chris Lytle's vault, a new feature here where we're taking a deep dive look at certain events and certain people that, sometimes, are for the hardcore fans. Mike,
Footnotes.
Are we really in a hardcore situation? I don't think we can get any more hardcore, actually.
Yeah, so we got Danny Boy Bennett. Danny, your first fight, obviously you're from the Seattle, Washington area, which you've got Matt Hume, Dennis Hallman, Benji Raddick, just Anthony Hamlet's out there, just a
Murray Smith.
And you're only right, exactly. You're a few hours away from, Raw, which later became Team Quest. So there's a really big fight community there. But what interests us is the events that you'd fought on in your early career. Yeah. So your first fight, now you're from the Seattle area, is at the United Full Contact Federation, except it's not although it's Matt Hume's event, it's actually in Hawaii. So your first fight is in Hawaii, November 9th, 1995, against Justin McCully's brother, Sean McCully.
McCully, yeah.
Okay, so do you recall getting involved with that?
Yeah. So, I mean, since I'm kind of from a sister gym of Matt Hume, and one of the, the top fighters from Washington, I got an opportunity to fight on that, and fighting Sean McCully. I think we were supposed to weigh 170 because I think I walked around like 165. He showed up at like 190, 195. He's pretty yoked, but I didn't care, whatever. I just remember the bell coming out. I just walked out and switched, kicked him, boom, and I thought he was gonna go out, but lack of experience, he didn't need to turn and looked at me and said, "Fuck this," and he shot in. And he took me down right away, and we wrestled around a little bit, and then I think he got me in a guillotine. Oh no, rear naked choke.
Is that what it was? Because it's not on the official.
Yeah, he got me with the rear naked.
Gotcha.
He got me in a guillotine. I got out, and then he got me in a rear naked.
Now, so what is your background up until this point?
Muay Thai.
And how much Muay Thai experience are we talking?
A lot.
Okay, so in essence, do you have any ground whatsoever going into that fight?
Absolutely not. Maybe a little bit of junior high wrestling.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So, and that's what I mean. I got out of a few things, but then all of a sudden, I can't remember if he got me in a guillotine or a rear naked, but yeah, he ended up, or I got out of one of the chokes into an armbar or something. It was a dumb transition that I messed up on, and then I got put in. Yeah, but I think he got me in an armbar actually.
Now, because this is 1995, November of 1995, so we're like deep in the old days here. Yeah. You're on UCF, you're Matt Hume show. It's the second one of those shows. Sean McCully. Now, I wonder if you knew this or were aware of it. Sean McCully actually fought on a pretty huge pay-per-view like 3 weeks before, and that one was one that was main evented by Renzo Gracie against James Waring. McCully lost to Eric Paulson in the first round and then came in to fight you. Had you seen the pay-per-view? Were you aware of any of that?
No, I didn't care.
Was it, if you had known about it, would you have scouted him, tried to see it, or at that point you're happy with your skills?
I never really did ever try to watch any video on any people and find out what they do, because my job is to go in there and do what I want to do. And I found that sometimes when I did see people, it would kind of make me like second guess, oh shit, he's pretty good, and then kind of doubt me. I don't want to know that, because when I go into a fight, I mean, I want to know a little bit of what they do, but I don't really focus on them. I focus on what I want to do, how I want to, how I want the fight to go my way. And I like to be first. I very rarely do I let somebody come at me. So then I didn't care about it. That's why I came out. As soon as we walked out, I just switch kicked him right in the face. And it was so fast and it rocked him. And he was like, kind of shook his head. And it was like he totally switched stances and charged me and took me down. So, but now today he would not be able to do that. I'd my ground.
All right, so you're 0-1. You're flying to Hawaii for your first fight. What was do you recall the payday on something like that? Because that's an expensive flight.
My first Muay Thai fight in Las Vegas against a 8-time world champion, $500. So yeah, that's
fighting for nothing.
When people, bitch about, oh, I need this much, shut the fuck up. Especially when you don't knock people out or finish people, you don't deserve everybody back then was like, I want 15,000. I was like, bitch, I fought for $500, dude. Are you kidding me?
Against a murderer. Yeah, on top of it, it's not like it's a local drunk from the crowd, right?
Right. So,
all right. So,
well, let me ask him a little bit. Because you hinted at, you said a lot, but talk a little bit about your true Muay Thai experience. How many matches? That sort of stuff. But give me a little bit of resume.
Well, I think as an amateur, I was 24-4. I was a heavyweight champion of Canada as an amateur as a middleweight of 165. I fought a former, what is that? The K1 guy, Paul Lalonde, 6'6". And I ended up beating him. It was weird because it was for an amateur heavyweight title. I was supposed to fight the middleweight champion. He got hurt, but it was still fight me, but didn't want to put his title up. My heavyweight in my stall was supposed to fight the rematch, Paul Lalonde, and then he couldn't go to Canada. So I said, fuck that. I'll fight the heavyweight champion for the title. And my Thai coach was like, really, baby? You do that? And I said, fuck yeah. I said, I'd rather fight for a title and get hurt than fight for nothing and get hurt. And then, so I ended up going and fighting him and beating him. And so that's what this belt is back in a long time ago.
Oh, that's a beauty.
Right? Belt with a plaque on it. And the good boy stars.
That's awesome.
Shit like that. And
well, you know what it is? They used to use like weightlifting belts back then, and they would just kind of like
weightlifting belt. Yeah. And then I was light heavyweight Muay Thai champ as a middleweight, and then Pacific Northwest middleweight. But professionally, my record was like 30. Well, MMA and Muay Thai is like 35 and 15, something like that.
Okay, that's fair. All right, so we have like a segment where we talk about legendary events and cards, and there's certain organizations that are kind of at the top of our list that we like to really know about, like on a personal level, especially like when you're talking 95, that's almost pre no holds barred. Like if you really kind of think about it. And in 97, January 17th, you fight on Superbrawl 3, and that's kind of the no holds barred era, the NHB era. So let me just kind of set the table for everybody at home. So they have J.R. Palmer is what he goes by. And he, at the time, was 16-0. He's 16-0. And Hawaiians, they love to get behind their own people. Like they're like the Irish cat with Conor McGregor, the Muslim community with Khabib. Hawaii is very much like that with their own fighters. So J.R. Palmer is, at this time, it's pre-BJ Penn, really. He is the man. Like, he is the person that they're for sure compete on a world level. So they bring in Danny Bennett, who's 0-1, and lost in the first round. Palmer's got Taekwondo background, but excellent ground according to the people from that organization. And in essence, when you're walking to the ring, they're calling you a body, a tune-up fight. Yeah. So why don't you kind of bring us through the entire experience? Because what takes place is incredible.
So, like I said, Matt Hume, approached me with this, said, hey, Danny, I think I was like 185 at the time. He's like, hey, I want you to go to Hawaii. And I was like, really? He's like, they kind of show me who he is a little bit. They're like, he stomps people's heads, he's strong as shit. He's beat people from the Lions Den, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, why the fuck do you want me to send me there? I'm not a ground person. He's like, I think you can beat him. And it's for a title. And they say, Matt gave me the lowdown. Like, they they want somebody that they think would be a tune-up fight, so he can go to UFC and fight like Hal for Hoyler Gracie or something like that. And I was like, all right, it's like, fuck it, it's a trip to Hawaii, and if I do win, I'm going to be the champ. So I didn't really, like I said, I wasn't training with my coach maybe once or twice, a week, but I was training at my work. It was kind of like a Rocky thing. It was pretty funny. My boss would be like, where the fuck's Danny at? And I'd be down doing push-ups because I worked at a plant where I had like a certain amount of time when my stuff would, take to get done. Mm-hmm. Kicking cardboard boxes, bins that are like 4 inches thick that hold like zinc parts on a pallet. I was kicking it and it would scoot. It was like in between 400 or 600 pounds, 700 pounds. And then I would kick it with my left, and my boss was like, holy fucking, that's your shins you're kicking that? And I was beating up the box. So, and just doing sit-ups and shit, then they fly me there. I get down to like 166. We fly to Hawaii and they freak out. TJ's guys like, holy fuck, you're hella big. Like they think
you're talking about TJ Thompson, the promoter.
Yeah, his guy, Ode, the big muscle, the powerlifting guy, Ode.
The guy who's the ref?
No, that's Steve English.
Oh, okay.
Steve English is the ref. But they think that I'm like 185. And I started laughing. I said, shit, I haven't weighed 185 like naturally for a long time, for a while. But I was like around 185 when they approached me, I guess. But I was kind of fat, I didn't do shit. So they give me the scale right away and I weigh 167. So I only had to lose 2 pounds. And so they're like, holy shit, you just look big. So we go to the press conference. They got JR's fights, blaring. It's a big event for the, thing. They're trying to scare me pretty much is what they're doing. And I don't know, JR must have heard like that I might have been big. And, in those future fights, he was fighting dudes like 400 pounds. He fought some guy, beat him. Mm-hmm. He comes walking up to me and my coach is like, damn, look, he's coming. He walks up to me and he's like, I don't give a fuck what you weigh. I'm fighting you because after I beat you, I'm going to the UFC. And I said, pump your brakes, bitch. I said, we haven't even fought yet. And he's like, what? And I said, dude, don't look past me before you met me, bro. I said, you don't know if you're going to beat me. And I said, if you do, we need to fight Muay Thai in a rematch. And he goes, I'll fight you. I fought in Thailand. They won't even let me fight anymore because of my right hand. And I went at him. It's like, fuck, we almost got into a fight there. So my coach pulls me back. We get into the stare down. And then.
So he's so tough, the country of Thailand has outlawed him from fighting.
Yeah, pretty much. That's why I'm like, get the fuck out of here. I've seen you fight,
Yeah.
Now, when you grew up in the Midwest, in the Northwest, and Hume is a pretty, like, I know Hume. Hume's a guy who always would be by the book. Like, but how were things at Superbrawl? Was the weigh-ins, like, were they up to snuff? Like were you like happy with all that stuff?
Yeah, pretty early.
Everything seemed pretty legit for me. Okay. Yeah. Like I've been to New Zealand, and it was really strict over there, like the weigh-ins. I was like teetering on something, to where it was like 70.2323. And I was like, fuck this. I started to take off my underwear and they're like, no, you're good. But no, everything was good and legit as far as I knew. I always weighed on point, so I don't care about anybody else. And I didn't care, like when I fought Sean McCully, he was 30 pounds heavier. I didn't give a shit. I've done that all my amateur career, fight people bigger.
All right. So Miguel, let me make you guys, it's so interesting, this fight. So in essence, you got the hometown guy in Jay Palmer. Obviously, we've established that. And they announce Danny to come to the ring. He's first. Palmer comes next. And Danny is, it's time to kind of meet in the middle. Wow. Danny kind of goes corner post to, say prayers, offerings, whatever it is you're going to do.
Yeah.
The referee brings him back in the middle again. Danny, you're there first. He starts to come. You turn around to go talk to your coaches.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's like icing the kicker in like in an important field goal. Was that intentional or was it just happenstance?
No, it's just when I went up there, I was like, oh shit, I forgot to take my Moncone off. So I went back so my coach could pray and take it off. It was nothing about JR. I don't give a shit about JR. I was already so mad in the back in the locker room because I was a little nervous. You know, there was, you know, thousands and thousands of people there. And I dedicated this fight to my friend, and my coach knew I was nervous, and he said, well, I didn't want to tell you this, but Matt or Cy thinks you're going to lose. I said, what? And I kicked the big old Red Bull container that holds the ice in the Red Bull in the locker room, shattered it. Ice and Red Bulls went everywhere. I started tearing up punching and kicking the lockers in there. And Trevor Lally comes in to put my gloves on, sees me doing that. Why Todd is over there giving JR his. He's like, you're going to fucking hurt yourself. I said, does it look like I'm fucking hurting myself? I'm just livid. Now I want to go out there and kill JR. So that's kind of why I was just, oh shit, forgot my Moncone, went back, and I was wanting to kill him.
No, I'm going to tell you what takes place there. So you have your ritual. You have, you know, you kind of get your rhythm. Like when you're walking to the ring, you're saying things in your head to each other, whether it's a checklist or, you know, thoughts that you're kind of going through. What happens with Jay Palmer is you take him out of his rhythm. You take him out of like he's no longer in sync with whatever it is that he needs to be in order to proceed.
And I think he was nervous.
You exposed that though. If he was, he could have hit it. And with your actions at that moment, it became very apparent.
Yeah.
Hey,
so would you agree with that?
Yeah, let me ask
well, yeah, like I said, I think he realized, like, holy shit, this guy, I mean, I was so calm, you know, and he's not a very calm person. That just tells me his lack of experience, where, you know, I've been around, you know, I've traveled, you know, places in the world. I've had so many fights. I mean, I've had I've had way more wins than he has fights. So, I mean,
now we've got it. Like we've set the playing field. Now,
I have a quick question. I do have one quick question. You mentioned Trevor and Todd Lally. Todd was with JR Palmer. Trevor was with you. So, like, they were running the show for Matt, with basically the run.
But they were helping do the gloves. And then Todd and Trevor were actually in my corner when I fought, because I was really good friends with them. And they were teaching me, like, what I used to turn him over. Todd and Trevor taught me that for like 2 days straight. We just rehearsed, you know. And then
let's go through the fight. We got the playing field. So go ahead, tell us, bring us through. This is fantastic.
So I mean, like, I learned, you know, shit coming up. I never usually talk shit to people because I'm pretty sportsmanlike and respectful. Yeah. But what happened at the press conference, I didn't like him. Now I was like, fuck this guy. So when we're getting ready to fight, and I jerk at him and I scared him. And I was laughing at him and I pointed at him. He's like, come on, come get me. I said, no, bitch, you come get me. So I started talking to him a lot during the fight. Like, when he had me down, you know, he was trying to outmuscle me. And I realized he's not stronger than me. Like when I shook his hand, I was like, oh shit, he's not as strong as me. So when he got me down, I just kept like talking to him and said, you know, and he's trying to outmuscle. I said, you're going to get tired doing that. And then he pulls my hair and I said, why you got to pull my hair, bitch? And then all of a sudden he slips out of my hand one time when I was talking shit. I was like, you're getting tired, huh? He's like, why are you talking shit, motherfucker? He's like so mad at me, right? But I was just trying to get him to try to outmuscle me in fatigue. And that's pretty much what happened. And then when I got up, or when he had me down, I heard Todd and Trevor yell, chop the right arm and leg and roll him. And I looked over at them and smiled. But I was also talking shit to his cornerman. His cornerman asked me, how's it feel to get your fucking ass kicked, Danny boy? And I go, fuck off. And then you see TJ lean over. He goes, finish him already. And I go, hey. I look over at TJ and I go, hey, whose fucking side are you on? Like, and they all come up to me afterwards. They're like, I can't believe you're fucking talking shit with us while you're fighting. And I'm just like, so then when I get him turned over and get up, all I kept telling him while we're fighting, standing up, I ain't tired yet, you know? And he's just like, all right. And finally, when I backed up, I just told him I ain't tired yet. And I walked up and I looked down, and that's why leans down to like act like he's gonna catch my kick because I looked down, but I kicked up and kicked him in the head. So yeah.
And what you're describing is a highlight reel head kick knockout.
Right.
And how many minutes into the fight was it roughly?
Like 14, almost 15 minutes.
Okay. So Miguel, it's amazing.
No breaks.
So what
I remember when they said 19 minutes remaining, I was like, what the fuck? I thought we already been fighting for 19 minutes.
Bro,
I was tripping.
I heard that. I rewound it just to make sure I heard it properly because you guys are like, I'm like, you guys are like 18 minutes in. What are they talking about?
Yeah.
And Palmer was incredibly aggressive after that initial exchange. He had top position and at times even mounted you for extended periods of time. Mm-hmm. And his offense wasn't enough to finish Danny Bennett. It wasn't. And Danny Bennett's defense was this much better than he was like. It allowed you like this much room in order to kind of get out of really getting seriously hurt. And I also think that like I watched a few of Palmer's earlier fights. I think a lot of those guys went into those fights really scared of him. And that's something that he was probably used to and didn't experience with you. And I think your just durability is what broke him.
Well, and that's what, a lot of people said. They're like, dude, you're, I didn't even train, like I said, but I was already in really good cardiovascular shape. I mean, I wasn't that far off of being out of shape, to fight. So, and I always walked around in good condition, cardio wise, just because of the way we train when we fight Muay Thai. But the thing is too, yeah, I just think I have more heart, more experience. And that was just
calm. He sold a lot of tickets. He sold a lot of tickets. Like that audience was there for him. What were the conversations like afterward with the promoter, with Palmer, if you had any?
So I almost didn't go to that fight because I was just getting over pneumonia and bronchitis or whatever. And so I said I would still come and fight. And TJ did send me a VCR tape of JR. So, and I just
was cool.
Like, this guy's fucking garbage. He does all this. He doesn't have any stand up. So that's why when he said, oh, I had 4 fights in Thailand, they won't let me come back. That's why I wanted to kill him right there. But, so TJ asked me he goes, so what'd you think of JR's tape? I said, tell him I said, keep his hands up. So when we're at the fight party getting paid and he goes to give JR his money, his envelope, he goes, and to JR, 16-0, unfortunately you had to go through a loss, but Danny Boy did tell you to keep your hands up and you didn't. All right, JR Palmer, everybody. And then Joey busts his balls. I'm like, oh my God. And then like 4 or 5 of his friends were waiting for me at the top of the elevator to the party. We almost got in a fight at the entrance because they were mad when I kicked him off me and then he ran and tried to kick me and I swiped him and he fell down and I stomped on him and then kicked him a couple times in the face when he was out of the ring. So that
was earlier prior to the knockout. That was like at the 12-minute mark. Okay.
Yeah. So they were mad at me about that. So they wanted to, and then next thing you know, me, my coach, and the Lollies were about ready to throw down with these dudes that were waiting for me at the elevator. And then, but these big ass bouncers came and were like, no, this is his fucking party, and pretty much muscled him out of there. But JR was pretty cool. He made excuses up because he had to go to the hospital. He made it back from the hospital to the party. But yeah, he was like, I was sick, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, it's always something.
Yeah. Hey, so how fast, sometimes these things happen pretty fast in the old days. Were they talking rematch right away that day, or what did he have a rematch clause?
I want to say maybe 2 or 3 weeks later. TJ called me, asked me, and I don't know why he's calling me, but called me and asked me if I'd rematch, and that fight I got 500 to show, 1,000 to win.
For your first one?
Yeah.
All right. So just so people at home know, so they could follow along. Yeah. 3 months later, April 9th, 1997 is Superbrawl 4. So it's the next event for that organization. Like they're not, a lot of times they kind of go every other event with their guys and they cycle them through. Mm-hmm. This was not the case.
No, I was lucky.
Okay. Yeah. So what was the purse for your second fight?
So the purse for the second fight, I well, obviously I wanted more. And I think I said I said I wanted 5 and 10 or something like that. I said something stupid, just to, be a salesperson. And he's like, no, he goes, I'm giving JR 15 and 15. And I was like, then fuck you guys. I said, dude, I knocked him out, dude. I knocked your champion out. I want more money. So I got 3 and 5, and I made him bring my dad, and we stayed for a whole week.
Oh, nice. All right, that's good stuff. That's good
so
stuff.
They paid for my dad to come. They paid for our hotel the extra week.
That's not cheap.
But I said, other than that, I said, get me somebody else. So
okay,
so that's good.
And then we hung up, and then 5 minutes later, TJ said, all right, we'll do that.
Really?
So, good. Now,
and then,
the rematch happens. So the rematch takes place, and just a fluke. Couldn't happen again.
Yeah.
Danny Bennett, I mean, he's a tough guy. He's a tough guy, but he just doesn't have the skill that Jay Palmer has. That's what the people announcing the fight are saying. Tell us about weigh-ins.
The weigh-ins, again, he came up and tried to talk to us. This time, Maurice Smith is standing with me, and he starts running his mouth again, and even tells Maurice Smith, that he would fight Maurice after he's done whooping my ass. And he goes, little boy, get your fucking ass away from me. He goes, Danny's going to knock you out even faster this time. That's what Maurice said to him. So get out of here, and kind of like shoot him off. I'm just like, what the fuck? So this time I'm like in his face when we're weighing in. I'm like, I almost kissed him on his face. So, but he was scared shitless. He stunk. When we came out for the second fight, my dad, because my dad got to be in my corner with me. We're in the back. I'm warming up, and I'm way different than everybody else. Like, everybody wants to listen to music and walk around and pump themselves up. Me, I'm damn near falling asleep taking a nap back there. Wow. And my dad's freaking out. My dad's like, Bert, to my coach, what the fuck's the matter with him? He's making me nervous. What's wrong with him? He's like, no, trust me, Dan. Because that's my dad.
You're at the end of the night. You're at the end of the night. Yeah.
He's like, Danny's right where he needs to be. And he's like, shouldn't he be more excited? And he's like, no. And then my other teammate was like, you need to fucking submit this motherfucker, because they were talking shit that I was lucky, right? Said, submit him. And then when JR comes running out, he's already doing this shit, telling me to get the fuck out of here. And then my friend goes, no, fuck that, knock him out again. So, but yeah, I mean, he smelled so bad. That's one thing I remember. Like, when I walked past him, I came back to my corner. I go, Bert, he fucking reeks. And he's like, because he's fucking scared, because his fear was smelling really bad. And I was like, damn.
That's impressive. Now,
So in the second fight, it goes along the same lines, and you head kick, knock him out again. Were you surprised?
No. And it was funny because when I got up and I went and I shook it off, I calmed down. I could hear his cornerman, watch the right leg, because that's what I kicked him with. Well, I'm known for my switch, for the switch left high. And he's a southpaw with his hand down. So, I already knew I was going to knock him out with that left, and with the switch left. And then when I hit him and rocked him, and I just all came together. I mean, it's just a typical combination. So, but yeah, I was laughing inside the whole time. This corner, watch the right leg. I'm like, yep, watch the right leg. It's going to be the left. So.
He refused to shake your hand too at the end.
Yeah, well, because so when I knocked him out, I pushed him down and held him down, and I asked Steve English, are you going to stop it? Because they were getting ready to ban it in Hawaii. They took I don't think they took head stomping out yet, but we weren't allowed to elbow in the face like that no more. Or I don't think you could elbow like this. You could forearm, but I was told not.
There's no 12-6. Yeah, no 12-6 elbows. Yeah. They were starting to come down on it.
Yeah, and they were getting ready to ban it because they were saying it was barbaric. So, TJ even will to this day say, he thanked me, because me doing that to him and not, instead of jumping on him and beating the fuck out of him, I looked at, or, you know, I held him down and asked Steve English, are you going to stop it? Because I didn't want to beat him up anymore. He was already like, kind of like coming to, you know, his like flash knockout. So he didn't know what happened until later after he's seen it.
And
so
that happens, you know, and that's real mature of you to say that, because it's unfair to hold actions against somebody that literally just woke up from getting knocked out. It really is.
Yeah. And after the fight, so like you said, he didn't come and shake my hand, right? So after the fight, I'm talking to one of the police officer in there, because he remembered he was there when I knocked you out the first time, and he's like, oh man, they were gonna have to send you home the first time because of the betting that was going on over there. And me knocking JR out, a lot of people lost a lot of money. And I was just like, I remember them saying that to me when I was there the first time. I was like, I ain't going home. I ain't worried about nothing, especially when I'm here with like Matt Hume. I'm there with, you know, people that I know that we can handle ourselves, you know, together. So, but JR comes walking up and the cop says, hey, here he comes. So I turn and look, and JR comes walking up. He's all mad. And I'm thinking, oh shit, he's going to probably start a fight. And sure enough, he just reaches out and said, good fight. I know we may never fight here again, but we will fight again. So I said, all right, well, have a good night.
That's cool. That's cool, man. Yeah,
So he did
at that
give me
point, it's
props.
looking personal.
But then later on, he was on a podcast with the other. I just did a podcast not maybe 9 months ago, with Todd Atkins.
Oh, dude, good podcast. Yeah, Todd is a historian like us.
So I heard JR, you know, making up excuses and shit, like I was sick and blah blah blah. But then later on, come out, you know, he said, you know, no, he got me, you know.
That's cool.
Hey, he goes, you were just way better.
Let me ask you, before we get into the rest of your career, where you fought a lot of big names, let's pause a little bit in the Superbrawl world, because first of all, that Superbrawl 3 is a historic card. There was a lot of stuff going on there. Maybe you can shed some light. First of all, who'd you share locker rooms with?
Well, me and Lober were in the same locker.
Lober, future UFC veteran.
Wait a minute, I'm trying to remember if me and Lober, I think, well, because me and Frank Shamrock were in the red corners, but I think Lober was in mine, I don't remember. I don't remember who was all in my corner. I didn't really like for that one, but I just remember after the fight, you know, me and John Lober, I was waiting for my ride, and Lober and his crew, you know, were like, fuck that. You just fucking won the title too. You're a champ. You're fucking right in here with us. So me and my ex-wife, girlfriend at the time, my two coaches, we all jump in, and we're, you know, John, out of anybody that, you know, it was John Lober. I don't even know this guy, but he's like, no, you the fucking champ. You're going to ride in the limo with us. So we got to ride, you know, hang out with him. And he was a really nice dude. You know, it's just like, damn, this guy took a beating and still ends up beating Frank Shamrock, you know, knocks his teeth out, and fucking he got heel hooked like really bad. His ankle was bad. So, but he was just a really nice guy. I talked to, well, and then that's when we got back to the hotel, and that's when me and Pat Miletich kind of had a exchange of words in the elevator.
Yeah, let me ask you about that, because Miletich is another interesting name on this card. The fact is Miletich shows up, and he's part of a 4-man tournament, and he gets another Midwest fighter. This kind of shows you Superbrawl had some pull. They got two Midwest guys going at it in the first round. Jason Nicholson, 30 pounds bigger, probably, Indian, you know, a Native American.
Cherokee,
I don't want to say, you know, the wrong thing, but which makes him tough as shit in my book. You
First
know what
Nation.
I mean?
Look at all the hockey dudes. Yeah, they're First Nation. Yeah.
So the bottom line is Pat Miletich had all he could handle. Why don't you take it away from there, Danny?
You know, I mean, I just think Pat should have been able to finish him. I mean, Pat, you know, with his wrestling pedigree and the submission, I don't know how he did not, I mean, beat Nickel, you know, but like I said, when Nichols is getting pounded, he's sitting there going, like this to the, because he ain't hurting him. And then what did you do? What did you do to hurt your shoulder? You were in control of the fight the whole time. You just couldn't finish the guy. What did you do to hurt your shoulder? I think he was just freaking out because he had the fight for pretty much the whole fight. And then Ray Cooper smashes that Japanese dude in like less than a minute. I just think he didn't want to fight.
So you got Pat Miletich on one side, Ray Cooper on the other side. The idea was, and there's also a Monty Cox connection, who's a promoter from the Midwest, with TJ Thompson, who's the promoter from Hawaii. At this time, TJ's I
think that's who it was. That where I fought for the UFCF.
Monty Cox?
Monty Cox.
Okay.
I think that's who was helping Matt Hume with the UFCF.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
So
that makes
in
sense.
essence, there's a relationship there where they trade talent. And Ray Cooper, he's a friggin' savage. Savage. So in essence, you got Monty Cox with his, hired hitman, and Pat Miletich, because that's what Pat is. Pat is legit former UFC champion against Hawaiian's, top guy, Ray Cooper. And the idea was to kind of have him meet in the middle, and Pat exerting himself with his first round opponent. I think it was like 9 minutes. I want to say off the top of my head.
No, 15-minute decision, one round.
I'm off.
20 minutes.
20 minutes.
Wow. Yeah.
And he couldn't finish his opponent, and he's going in against a very fresh Ray Cooper. And you're claiming that Pat said he was injured and opted out.
Well, yeah, he said he's injured. He said he hurt his shoulder, and I don't know.
No, I understand what you're saying, because it was the kind of fight that there were a few embarrassing moments for Pat. It's not Pat's best look, that fight, right? And then that insult to injury, Ray Cooper waiting for, the big Pat Miletich finals, gets Jason Nicholson, the guy that Pat couldn't beat, walks into the finals because Pat didn't show up. And so, yeah, that's always going to be an open question, I think.
Yeah.
Now, did you talk to Pat about it? Did you bring it up with him, or did you?
I just kind of popped off to him in the elevator about you'd want to fight me, but in Muay Thai, but I didn't say nothing bad to him about that, but I said I'd fight you any day in Muay Thai, dude, because I just watched him fight. I'm like, he would not be now MMA. Pat would kill me. He's strong. He's a better wrestler, but Muay Thai, no. Don't claim you're a Midwest champion and I'm a world champion. So, but I don't know. I didn't say nothing bad to him. I like him. He's a nice guy. I just thought he pussed out. That's my opinion. I don't know if it's true, but that's what I think.
Yeah, that's cool.
What do you think happened in the finals? Was Nicholson just shot because he had 30 seconds for Ray Cooper, or was Ray really that sharp that day?
Ray's a beast. So Ray's strong, and maybe Nichols, said fuck it, but Ray's a beast. I've been in there with them, so I already know. And
his son is the top prospect outside of the UFC right now. His son's got 2 wins over Jake Shields, where Jake wanted nothing to do with him. And even though Jake may have been past his prime at the time they had met, Jake Shields is a dangerous guy, and he wanted absolutely nothing to do with Ray Cooper, Junior. So it's just, it runs in the family.
Now,
different times, you know what I mean? I always wanted to fight Jake Shields. Never did. I know that they were back then, the King of the Cage days, they were trying to maybe see if me and Duane Ludwig would fight each other because we're both Muay Thai guys. I know I was supposed to fight Alex Gong, Muay Thai champion from the K1, but before he got murdered, and then they pulled me out a week and a half before the fight, and replaced me with Duane Ludwig. And Duane Ludwig looked like he was beating him. I was there. They still brought me. Basically, Duane Ludwig outperformed him. But still lost. So I think it was more political for the K1. But yeah, I don't know.
Let's throw a couple other names. You've had some other famous opponents. You fought Dennis Hallman twice.
Well, let me stay on that Superbrawl for just another second, because you got Frank Shamrock there losing to that fight with Lober, who you mentioned. Now, is that something where? Can you tell us anything about Frank? Was he cocky heading in? Was Maurice Smith?
Well, that's pretty much the first. That's pretty much the first time he ever fought like real no holds barred. He never, right. He always did just submission. But I mean, look what he did when they came back and fought in the UFC.
Right.
I mean, Frank killed him in the first round. I mean, destroyed him. I mean,
his first fight jitters too.
Yeah,
Was it that? Was it something that you think? See, I always looked at it as like Lober came to fight.
You didn't hear it from me. We're on video, but he was a playboy, so I know he was. When we were there, I was like, "Damn, he's getting all the bitches," So he's having fun. He was young. I was young, and that was, we're in Hawaii. I mean, I think maybe he was distracted.
Okay. I always saw it like Lober was there to fight and Frank was there to compete.
It's kind of what I was getting at by what distracted.
Okay, cool. So, and on the next show too, Pete Williams made his debut there, a future guy. He knocked out Mark Coleman in the UFC and stuff. Any of those guys, did you notice them, or was the Lions Den kind of? You said it.
They were kind of a brat pack together. They didn't really. I mean, oh God, I'm trying to remember the other kid that fought on there. Big, like 185er, 205er. What was his name?
John Renfro there, or Doug Murphy?
No, John Renfro.
I'm just going through the card here.
Oh, that guy. No, he was on the Lions Den.
Doug
fought
Murphy?
The UFC for a little bit. Oh my God.
Oh,
blonde hair.
Bolander.
Yes. Yeah. I talked to him a little bit. He was pretty cool, but yeah, I mean, Pete was cool.
They're quiet, right? They're pretty quiet.
Yeah, and they just kind of kept to themselves. I know Ken from training with him when you come up to train with Maurice Smith. So,
let's push the interview along a little bit. You've got 2 fights against Dennis Hallman.
Just one.
I got April 24th, 1999, and I got December 4th, 1999.
I just fought him once.
Do you remember which one of those was it?
I don't remember what the date was, but it was. Yeah, I just fought him once. He got me in an arm bar, but I wouldn't tap. And he was telling me, "Danny boy, tap." I'm like, "Fuck you, you ain't got it." And then Hume was, "Danny boy, tap." And I'm like, "Fuck off." And then the ref was asking me, "Do you want to tap?" I said, "Fuck no." And then Matt one more time said, "Danny, tap." And I said, "No." And then he goes, "Break it." And then the referee, jumped in and stopped it. So, but yeah, that's how that went. But
yeah. Dude, Dennis Hallman, he's just a savant. He is an absolute savant when it came to submission grappling.
Yeah, he's good. He was strong. Dennis Hallman, always talked a lot of shit coming up. I was already pro a long time before him. He'd always be like, "You're a paper champion." And then after that, he beat me. And I was like, "All right, let's fight Muay Thai." And he goes, "Nope, that's not my game." Right there on the, so he knew. So
he was a character, absolute character.
Pretty much. He's a good guy.
And then they bring you back out to Hawaii to fight on Superbrawl 13 against Ray Cooper, who we had just mentioned. Did you have any concerns going into that fight?
Oh yeah, I just watched him smash 2 people before. So, of course I was like, holy shit, but also too, a lot of people kept asking him, "Would you want to stand with Danny Boy?" And his ego was like, "I'll stand with Danny Boy. I ain't scared to, fight with," because he's not too bad of a boxer, And so when we were, I had to cut some weight for that fight, but yeah, it was tough to cut in the weight, but fighting, I was tearing him apart for a little bit standing up. Like, he just couldn't get near me. I just kept tearing his legs apart. And finally he just said, "Fuck that shit," and shot in. And when I kicked his leg one time and took me down, but I was actually beating him from the bottom because I was holding him pretty good and making sure I kept control of his left arm, because he's a left-hander. That's his power. And then I kept elbowing him from the bottom and then pulling his head down, let him up. And then finally he postured up, and I heard Matt say, "Buck," Matt Hume was in my corner, told me to buck up and push his hips up so I could bring my knee in. And when I did that, he just said, boom. And I just remember seeing a white flash, and I heard the crowd like, oh, and then pushed him.
Oh, that must
down.
be me. Yeah.
I rolled him. I started beating him, and I accidentally headbutted him, trying to scoot up. I paused. Sorry. He's like, okay. And we kept fighting. And then I, got him a few times, and then I put my hands right next to his hips to, posture. And I heard Matt, get your hands out of there. And whoa, he got me in the armbar before I could, yeah.
Yeah, Ray was, in my opinion, he's one of those special fighters that
he's
probably
good. Yeah,
it doesn't get the credit he deserves.
Yeah, I thought he would have gone way further than he did. So
yeah, I agree. Fabiano Iha. Well, here, how about this? At this point, how much of your training is like geared towards submissions, wrestling, submission defense?
At that time?
Yeah, 0. That's what I thought. So your next fight's against Fabiano Iha, who does highlight real submissions.
Right. Yeah, he got that north and south on me, and I was like, what the fuck is he doing? Like, because I've never seen that before, I just figured he was, because I heard he likes arm bars, but then when I kicked or I did something and I went to uppercut him as he shot in, I just missed him. I mean, it just grazed him, and he shoots in and takes me down. And when he went to the, north-south on me to do the arm bar, I was like, whoa, I was at loss. I didn't know what the hell he was doing. And all of a sudden I'm fucking whapped up in an arm bar. And when I tried to pull out, I separated my rib. So
yeah, Fabiano's, and it was a quick arm bar.
He's sick, dude. That guy was pretty savage. I was like pretty impressed.
Yeah, he's a smaller guy too as compared to yourself.
He was quite a bit shorter than I was.
Yeah.
But he just told me, he goes, I saw you kick that JR Palmer. I said, I ain't getting kicked in the head like that. So I knew I needed to take you down as soon as possible. So
that's cool. Yeah. So one of our favorites, we had an interview with Yves Edwards. It actually broke the 3-hour mark, and none of us were done yet. Like, it was a phenomenal interview. You fight Yves on a King of the Cage, September 16th, 2000. When you're coming to the ring, when they announce you, they're announcing you as a Bas Rutten student, one of the top Bas Rutten students. Was that true?
No.
Okay, who were you training with then?
Murray Smith.
Okay.
At that time, though, I was living in Tempe. We had the Arizona Combat Sports. We just started it up.
Now, is that you started up with the Lally brothers? Why don't you talk about that? Because Todd and Trevor, we talked about them being, Hume's runners. I know they had some brief experiences in judo in the early days as well. So good guys. And later on, they bought a whole bunch of fighters up, up through the UFC, Scott Steinbeis, Ray and stuff. So talk a little bit about that. Were you starting a gym with them?
So, obviously with the Superbrawl, like I said, it boosted me up, to where people were like, oh my God, that's the greatest knockout, ever, blah, blah, blah. With my Muay Thai credibility, I was a light middleweight world champion Muay Thai. So, I was coming up pretty fast. And so Trevor was like, hey, let's move to Arizona. Well, we went down to go scout it out. And then I think it was like 99. And then we went down towards the end of 99 and found a place, and Trevor bought a house, and I started up with him. So I was 30% owner just for my name. And I was going to draw in the people because of who I was. And then I would say probably 6 months, 7 months, maybe 9 months into it, my marriage was having a hard time. So I came back home. I always think back, man, because if I didn't come back home, I would have been part of all that to help, bring, because that's eventually what I wanted to do, is bring, pass my stuff on and be in the fight game, somehow.
And, the Lally brothers left an indelible mark in the mixed martial arts world. Like, they really have, especially in that Arizona, market. They've done a phenomenal job with their gym, like consistently for, almost 2 decades.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, I mean, where he came from Matt Hume's, and I mean, Matt Hume's a very successful person,
Yeah.
as far as in business like that. So, and you know, Trevor and Todd Lally, they're very business savvy already. So it doesn't surprise me that they did good. I know.
Well, here, let's go back to Yves Edwards. What do you recall about that fight?
I was frustrated. I was super frustrated. You know, they were telling me because I took that fight on such short notice with Fabiano Iha that they would get me somebody, like you said, more of a kickboxer to where it would be good for us. And Yves has kickboxing experience. But like I said, when I started tearing him apart a little bit, kicking him in the legs, Rico Rodriguez was like, "Do not stand." I could hear him, and I was looking over like, "You motherfucker!" Like, you fucking went in this motherfucker's corner. Like, but I guess he goes back and forth to Texas where Yves is from. So they train together. And I'm like, so then sure as shit, you know, and then I don't like making excuses. I mean, granted, I just didn't learn the ground. That Matt Hume, Matt Hume was so mad at me after I lost to Ray Cooper. He literally slapped me in the face when we were done. He was like, "Danny boy, you have the most fucking talent out of anybody in here. People train 3 times as hard as you to have half of what you have." He goes, "You need to take a year and learn the ground with me, and you could be the best in the world in UFC anywhere you want to go. Or do you just want to be a guy that likes to kick it and party and travel and fight and not really give it a shit? You know, do you want to treat it like a job, or do you just want to treat it as a way to go kick it and hang out in different places?" And I said, for one, don't ever slap me in the face again. And, you know, but it was my ego back then. You know, I didn't want to get my ass kicked starting a new fucking fighting thing when I was already the best, you know, at Muay Thai, you know. But later on, as I got older, I started learning more ground, and, you know, I'm not super awesome or anything, but I've held my own against like blue belts and shit like that. So
That's cool.
I know enough, but
sometimes it's just maturity, you know.
That's what it was. I was just, like I said, it was my ego.
You didn't want to get your ass kicked in the gym. You didn't want to get embarrassed in the gym. Yeah.
No,
it happens.
No, but that's a martial arts thing too, like a real martial artist too. It's like, hey, you didn't take it up to make the money or anything. You took it up because, hey, it was a hole in your game, and it's kind of a private thing, no? Because you took like 7 years off and then had a fight with Shannon Ritch. You know, what was that like? Is Shannon
still want to fight? I want to fight him again so goddamn bad, because that's another one I took on short notice again.
For a couple $100, you could have had the opposite, you know, decision on that one.
Yeah, and I don't, dude. Yeah.
But did you have some ground heading into that fight? Is that something that you'd already worked on a little bit? And
yeah, a little bit. I mean, that's why, like, he got me in one move. I got out. What did I can't remember? Oh, he got me in a heel hook, and I got out of it, and I actually got out of it to get on top or slightly on top, and then I think he rolled me or something into an armbar. I mean, he says he's good on the ground, but his stand up, I still keep trying to get him to fight me Muay Thai or something, but he always never answers or responds.
Yeah, he's gonna avoid that, I think.
Oh, I know he will.
Yeah.
But what happened there with that 7-year break? Was it something where you were straightening out? You're like, because you gave up on the fight game, or you know? Kind
of. I mean, I fought so much in the first. I mean, in a year, less than a year and a half, I already had 28 amateur fights. I was always fighting everybody heavier than me. You know, obviously I had a heavyweight title, light heavyweight title as a middleweight, 165 pounds. So, and then when I started fighting pro Muay Thai, I mean, same thing. I was fighting all the time. I was still fighting dudes 185, 180 when I was 165, you know, and I think, and I was fighting almost to where I was fighting every 6 weeks, or, I mean, there's a few times where I fought twice in a week, you know, one Saturday, then the next Saturday. Yeah. And Maurice Smith's manager, who became my manager, was like, "You burned him out," you know, to my old coach. He's like, "You burned him out. He just fought too many hard fights, you know, too many bigger guys." And which I don't think that's what it was. and then they started slowing down on getting me fights, and that was kind of making me mad too. So that's kind of how I faded. Like my manager was more focused on Maurice and our other girl fighter. And I was just like, I'm not sitting in here training every fucking day to be just training. I want to fight. So, and then when I won that world title, nobody challenged. Never got challenged for it ever again. So then I went up in weight. I wanted to go heavyweight. So then I cycled up and started training with Maurice and Matt Hume. And same thing, Matt Hume wasn't getting me any fights. So it just fell off.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
No, but you still follow the game nowadays? Like do you root
a little
for-
bit? I'm getting kind of back into it. I like a few people. I'm actually coming out of retirement here in about 6 months. I'm going to fight a Muay Thai fight against a local guy that came up. That's when cool. I came up, kind of chomping at the bit a little bit. So I pretty much said, well, then let's come out. I said, you ready to come out of retirement then? So he's like, sure. So we're setting it up here in probably the next 6 months.
That's cool. Well, you guys both have a goal then at that point.
Yeah, it's Muay Thai, or it's not even Muay Thai. It's just regular kickboxing. The guy, he calls me out on Facebook, but then tells me he could beat me, but then doesn't want to fight me Muay Thai. It has to be kickboxing. So I'm like, then it's like not 5 rounds, and it has to be 3 rounds. I'm like, dude, how do you call me out and say you can beat me, but then you gotta,
Are you getting in social media beefs at this day and age? Is that what you're talking about?
No. Well, he kind of did. We're friends. Don't get me wrong, but okay. he used to be really fat, heavyweight champion from here, like 333. Lost some weight, then had the lap band surgery. So I think he's just feeling himself a little too much.
Hey, so let me run a couple of quick names by you here as we begin to wrap up from the Northwest. We talked a little bit off camera about Landon Showalter, who's a veteran from up there that you train with and stuff like that. And I heard you threatening to stop by his gym a little bit and show him a little Muay Thai. So why don't you talk a little bit about Landon and the people there?
So I never really trained much with him. He was with Charlie Pearson and all those guys. But I'll probably say maybe 10 years ago, somewhat, I was like, dude, we should fight, kept like getting in his ear, because after I left, he was kind of the good guy. And when I stopped, and I just thought it would be a good fight, for me and him. Not that I don't like him or anything. I love the guy. He's a really nice guy. But yeah, no, I like him. And it's not, I am probably going to start heading up there probably once a week to go get some sparring in with them, cool. Just to get around. But I train at Ring Demon and then All Fitness. So
cool. Now, one other name here, we talked about Ray Cooper and how he's got a second generation fighter. There's another pretty good one from up there. I'm gonna draw a blank on his name here for a second. Another Matt Hume guy, Lance Gibson. Lance Gibson's kids.
Well, he fought with me up in Superbrawl 4.
Yeah.
Me and him got to be really good friends. We hung out after the fights in Hawaii. We went sword fishing on a charter boat.
Yeah, he still does that. Yeah.
Yeah, and him and my dad still talk. Like, he really liked my dad. Him and my dad hit it off really well. So my dad, him still talk on Facebook. He asks me all the time if, when he does talk to me, how's my dad doing? But I really liked him. He's a really nice guy, really respectful. I remember I was going to get in a fight in a club here in Seattle. And this guy was like always bullying me, trying to bully me, right? Not knowing what I do. And he comes over with some dudes and he starts talking shit. And I'm like, oh my God, like, I'm trying to be good, And then Lance Gibson sees me told my demeanor changed. Like, you can tell when I'm pissed, I get quiet. The look, I turn different. And he's like, Danny boy, what's the matter? I said, that motherfucker keeps always trying to talk shit, keeps threatening me. He goes, why don't you fucking knock him out? I said, because I don't want to get in trouble. I got a fight career, And so Lance walks up to him, what's up? And the guy looks at him. He said, what's up? And he's like, you got a problem? And he's like, dude, who the fuck are you? And he goes, I'm hell. That's what he goes. The guy goes, what? He goes, I'm hell. Hell. I'm gonna be hell for you. You know my boy Danny? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, do you know what he can do to you? And he's like, what do you mean? Because I'm gonna show you what he can do to you. And the dude's like, hey, because Lance Gibson doesn't look, he looks scary. And the dude's like, no, whoa. And he's like, basically, I'm like, then finally I'm like, no, Lance, I don't want that because I can handle my own shit. I don't need to go beating up people for me, So, but it was pretty funny. So, I mean, I haven't been up there because I'm not allowed in Canada, but otherwise I would have been up there a lot. And him and Chris Franco.
Exactly.
We're all close.
Now, have you seen his kid fight? Are you like, do you follow that type of thing? Because his kid's impressive too. One of those.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
I'm going to hit you with one last name before I let Mike wrap it up here. And because you're a Muay Thai guy and I'm not, that's not my wheelhouse, but is Ramon Dekkers the best guy in the world from these eras? Is that something that you can say? Like, what do you think of Ramon Dekkers?
Oh, of course I liked it. I like him, but I like the Thai style a little more.
So Buikao.
He's the Dutch, but I mean, dude, he's the one. Every time he'd beat one, they would send another one to beat him. Then he'd come back and beat one. I mean, he is probably one of the greatest. Yes.
And Buikao is another one of the Thai guys.
He's my favorite.
Is that your favorite? Okay.
Yeah. We have a similar style. We fight kind of the same. I just think he's smaller, so he had a higher output, but we do have the very similar style.
That's cool. That's just an intense sport. It's a whole different world. So, do you have any regrets with the MMA stuff? Are you, a little bit, but
do I have any what?
Like regrets? Like, do you wish you had dedicated yourself?
I mean, I try to not have any regrets because I mean, when I was born with a heart defect and I wasn't supposed to ever play any kind of sports. Amazing. Almost passed away a few times as a little guy. So I'm blessed, to be able to have done what I've done. I've had, doctors at fights were like, dude, do you realize you have a heart murmur? I'm like, yeah, I have a ventricular septal defect. He goes, good for you. Like the doctor's like, because I'm, I've got like 6 titles.
And
I was a semi-pro.
MMA wasn't your main sport anyway.
It wasn't. But
so I mean, you can't
for Matt Hume to slap me in the face and tell me you could be the best and have the world in the MMA, and I didn't do it. It's different. I
mean, it's not even his first sport. It's the second sport he did as a hobby. You kind of messed around with it, but you made your mark. At the end of the day, I mean, look at J.R. Palmer. You made your mark. No, somebody was going to make their mark. For that guy. Somebody was going to make their mark. It was you.
Poor guy.
No, but you're right. When Hume tells you that, now you look back when Hume says something like that to you, it's something.
Yeah, I mean,
and all those guys in that area, Landon is a very high level guy. Charlie Pearson that you mentioned, all those guys really tell. Lance Gibson.
They still never did nothing.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Kind of got stuck behind Hume in a queue and never really amounted to that.
Matt Hume's a genius. He's a mad genius. He really is.
But Shannon, Landon and Charlie Pearson, they got their own gyms, and like, I want that eventually. I just don't know how to do it or whatever. That's my dream, is to take kids, because when I found my coaches, I was like 23, and I was probably would have wound up dead or in prison by now, or a long time ago, the way I was. So I really want to give back to the kids that maybe are neglected, having a hard time, because that was the first time ever that somebody ever believed in me and told me, yes, you can. Was my coaches. And the fights that I didn't think I'd win, they're like, dude, what are you talking about? You're gonna kill them. And I'd go in there and knock somebody out. I'd be like stunned that I was like, oh shit, I did that. And they're like, damn. Cool. So I want to pass that on, like Landon and them guys. And
that's cool.
I make me happy to see that they work with a lot of kids. And I don't know if you guys know who Eric Wiseman is up here. He's really big up here. He has a couple of gyms. But yeah, that's my goal here in the next probably 5 years is to have my own gym.
That's cool.
Cool.
Excellent. Danny, dude, we really appreciate your time. Thank you, allowing us to kind of dig deep into the 90s pre-NHB era. And
Right.
thank you for your time, man. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it. Makes me feel good.
No, I appreciate it too. Definitely for me, definitely a blast from the past, a heroic figure from the 90s, receiving those Superbrawl tapes in the mail and being like, holy mackerel. So getting to meet you, and definitely a gentleman. Thank you very much for the time.
Thank you.